Hey everyone, welcome to Reading the Green and our golf DFS show. My name is Mike. I got Jordan here tonight. Kyle missing his first one of the season, I think. So Jordan, just you and me, will give this a shot. It's Tuesday, June 7th. We'll do the Memorial recap. We'll talk about the RBC Canadian Open. This is really just a holdover to get to the US Open and a couple of other things. And of course, I think we'll probably talk about some swag at some point here, Jordan, because it's you and me, and Kyle doesn't usually like to jam on that too much. But let me ask you this first. How was League tonight?
It was good. It was really good. Best round. I shot 10 strokes better tonight than last Tuesday.
Is it because of your bionic fingers?
35. I shot even with 2 birdies and a 4-putt double bogey. So, and I think it was hole 5. So it was like right in the middle. It's not even like I started bad or I finished bad. No, I just shit my pants, hit the green in 2 and 4-putted from like 25 feet.
How are your fingers feeling? Are they like super powered now?
They must be if I played that well. It's the first shot on the range I bladed again, that hurt like but after that, I peered. I think I peered every shot after that. I hit every green except for 1, Mike.
That's the only way I know you know how to play. You hit the ball so good all the time. It's just whether or not you don't chunk any chips.
Yes, or just any shot in general, chunking. But I was gonna say, the handicap of the podcast tonight is exponentially lower than when Kyle's here.
Yeah, this is a good point. This is a good point. I'm not doing any favors for I know I complain about it a lot, but I've only played a couple of times this year, and I've played all right, so it's not going in the right direction. Let me tell you that. So I went out over lunch. I did a club fitting. I've been trying to get fit for this driving iron, a TaylorMade driving iron, and as I have a new strategy in the top of my bag. And it's been tough. It's tough to fit those because you can't get all the different shafts. And I wanted to get one in an X stiff, and the shop was like, "Are you sure you want an X stiff? Most players would have regular or stiff." I'm like, I think I know what I need in my bag, but I'd like to still get on a monitor. And so I did that, and it was great. Like, so I was hitting that great and got that ordered. But then I decided I wanted to hit, because I've seen these guys on tour start to go to these 3-woods, but like crank them down to like 16.5 degrees with like a 4-wood and just have some higher launch, and they don't go as far. And so I had them set up a couple of stealth 3-woods, and I haven't carried a 3-wood in like 12 years. I've just played hybrids. I had the ball far enough. I haven't really needed it. And so I step up and just like straight up top my first shot down the driving range with 3-wood. And I just was like, okay, all right. I haven't hit one in a while. It's fine. Tee the next one up, topped that one. The next one I hit over the end of the driving range to the other tee box. It was about 300 yards. They were like, okay, maybe back off that one. Topped the next 2 and just said, all right, guys, I don't think a 3-wood's right for me. I'm clearly like hitting it like I hit my driver and just hitting up on it a little bit and trying to launch it. And for whatever reason, that was not, I don't know. I probably needed to spend more time, but I was like, I just topped like 4 of my first 6 shots. I don't think this was the right play.
Yeah, they didn't get you like different shafts or anything?
We did. We went through like the one that I hit the best. So I hit a few more shots after that, and we went through some other shafts, and they went to like the stealth high launch 3-wood, and I actually hit that one pretty good. And I turned to the guy, I said, I think this is for like old guys. He's like, yeah, that's what we would put in. Like, so I was like, I'm not playing that. I said, so anyways, I was hitting like the driving iron, like 270, like it, off a tee. Like I don't really need a 3-wood if I'm not going to play golf courses over 7,000 yards. So it's fine. I just, it was just funny. I just topped so many shots.
If you're hitting your driving iron 270, why don't you just hit your driver? What does that go, like 300?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like, don't hit your driver straight enough or what?
No, I hit my driver great. No. I think it's more like I want to find the most accurate, for holes that you aren't going to hit a driver. Like that happens.
Wait,
And
what?
I know
I don't understand, Mike.
there are
There
sometimes,
are holes you don't hit your driver on that aren't
not
par
very
threes.
many, or into par fives. Like there's the thing too, like hitting into par fives. Sometimes you want to stretch it out a little, but anyways, 3-wood thing is dead. I'll revisit it in a couple years. All right.
You can
Next
try my
topic.
Titleist 3-wood if you want to.
Well, maybe that was the problem. I don't know. Next topic. So I feel like we've been talking a lot of swag golf offline. I know that they have their Swagness, their March Swagness winter redesign coming out. So we got some details on how to snag those, and then a whole NFT project that I think we need a separate podcast to just talk about, like our learning in the NFT space.
Yes, I need to go listen to like 10 TED Talks to figure out what the F I'm about to buy.
I
And
think
what I've signed up for with Ethereum and MetaMask and Premint and Mint. I have no idea.
I think the
I have
thing
no
is,
idea what I'm doing.
and I haven't been I'll be honest, I haven't been a part of any other NFT projects. Swag fans are insane. And so it just feels like if there's any community to totally like blow something out of the water, this is one of them, because they're willing to do really dumb things for this product. And so why not also in the digital space? So I guess we'll see what happens in the next few weeks.
Yes. And like if it does actually get you access to physical goods, there's going to be people are going to go bananas because
I know.
they spend. This is where it's crazy. There was a cover for $8,500 today, and it filled, and people wanted their chance to win. $8,500 for one stupid cover.
What cover was it?
They did some crocodile leather ones, and it was like white and Tiffany blue. There were only 13 of them made.
Wow.
And I guess I joked with one guy was talking about like you run your pop. It's crazy.
But it's kind of like that one that they did for a regional accounting company in Chicago. They did special covers for, it looked like one of their executive meetings, and then people were trying to sell those for a chunk.
Yes, I'm still waiting for us to get our hookup
to figure that one out. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Here's this is a swag story. So I've shared a lot of this with my father-in-law, who's a big golf nut, and he knows that I'm into this stuff, and he was playing in a tournament, a member guest in California this past weekend, and he texts me. He goes, "Hey, I'm watching the shootout, and I just saw a guy buy a swag cover off another guy's bag on the spot for $500."
What?
And he's like, I was like, can I have some details? And he's like, well, it was the dolphin. It was a dolphin. He described it as a dolphin hybrid cover. And I was like, okay, well, so the first thing that came to mind was the Flipper fairway cover that they did for the Swagiversary in April.
Yeah.
And he said he bought it for $500 on the spot, and the guy who bought it for $500 was then like rubbing it in the guy's face that he was going to easily sell this for $1,500 when he got home. And I was like, no, I don't think so. And my father-in-law said that this guy was the guy that bought it was well overserved. But anyway, I just thought it was funny. Like he just bought it off someone's bag on the spot for $500. I was like, I think I sold that one for $500.
I need to find that guy and be out with my golf bag. I'll sell all my ones for $500. I don't put these fancy ones on my bag.
Yeah, that's a first. I haven't heard of people doing that. Just kind of buying them. You play with someone and you try to buy it off their bag. I do get worried about people stealing them, but
yes.
Yeah. All right.
Let's talk about. I get the most compliments. I get the most compliments at the club from the cart boys, like the guys that clean the clubs and put them away every time. dude, where'd you get that cover? Dude, what are these? Dude. And it's dude every time.
Before we get to the memorial, let's talk about the live tour. And I know there's a lot, we could, again, this has been exhausted in golf media this week, but details keep coming out. So I have, well, actually, why don't you go first? You said you had something you want to ask me and get my reaction, and then I'll do the same for you.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, so DJ, right? Going over there, 125 million. That's the rumor. He, he's made 75 million in his career. PGA Tour earnings, obviously more in endorsements and stuff like that. So I'm gonna round it down just for math's sake to 62 million, because then think about this: if Mike, take all the money you've earned in your career so far, double it as a one-time paycheck to go to a new job at a morally questionable, reprehensible company that you could leave and still go back and work where you currently work. Would you do that? All the money, like, think about all the money you've made in the last, I just had my 20-year class reunion.
Yep.
All the money I've made in 20 years, double it for, he probably had to sign a 2-year contract, and I'm sure he's assuming the live league folds before 2 years is up, right? Like, would you do it?
So
that's literally what he did. He doubled his, how old is he? 30.
He's
whatever.
37. I think he's 37.
So 17, 15 years worth of earnings when he's only going to get worse from here, and he doubled all of that.
Can I respond? I feel like you bury the the key term there, which is the morally reprehensible part.
I know.
Like that's the tough part. I mean, because I think, okay, so like, but honestly, thinking about it, like, in our line of work, there are some organizations that I feel are a little evil empire-ish, and but not morally reprehensible. And so, would I go work for some of the big tech firms for all the money I've made in my career in the next 2 years? Sure, of course. But
would you go do consulting for the Saudi government?
But that's the thing.
1-year contract for that amount.
That's where the Phil Mickelson qualification of these are some crazy MFers, that's where you got to take that into account. So
well,
I don't know.
Where, like, it's easy to cast stone. I give DJ, like, would I do it? No. If someone offered me that much money, would I do it? I sure shit would think a lot harder about it.
I know.
Right? Like,
I know, and I think a lot of guys did.
And how can you? It's tough to pass up. He's literally, I mean, his kids were fine with how much money he's made and how much he would have made, but he just secured like 4 generations worth of kids.
And that's
because now he can invest it, and if it's really $125 million check, that's worth $1 billion in 30 years.
Yeah, no, you're right. When you put it that way, when you ask yourself to think about all the money you've earned in that period of time and in what that would mean for your future, you throw it out to 100 guys on tour and 10 of them are going to bite. Like, that's just the way it is. Not everybody thinks the same way. And we'll see what happens. Let me offer this. For that amount of money, would you go play for the Fireballs Golf Club, the Four Aces Golf Club, the Ironheads Golf Club, or the Majestics, ICKS, Golf Club? Those are the 4 team names that you will see on the live tour at their event.
I would love to play for the Majestics.
People
are
just
I would go for.
Roasting them on Twitter for this is cheesier than a single A baseball organization. Like, what are they doing? Who's behind? I think that's the reality is there is no brand behind this. There's no brand, there's no business case, there's no sponsorship, there's no revenue. Like, all this is just, can we throw enough money to we'll see what happens. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, I mean, give Greg Norman credit. I would never have him start a business for me.
He's
Right,
been a pretty
like-
successful businessman, but this
He has been, but not in anything related with this, or else he's just running into brick walls everywhere, and everyone has said no.
Right.
So they're just going in with none of this. But think of all like that. That'd be very surprising to me if he couldn't find supporters,
right.
and money and broadcast rights and all of that.
Right. Okay, we'll do the memorial here really quick. I am drinking, this is a new Toppling Goliath called Radiant Haze. It is really, really good. It was Amarillo, Citra, Mosaic, and Sabro. It's very juicy. What do you got?
Nice. I am drinking other half, more Citra than all Citra. It
Ooh.
is also
That looks
extremely
really
juicy.
good. I saw that in your glass. It looked really good.
And I probably wouldn't have picked it after having a few beers at on the round, because it is a 10.5 Imperial IPA. So this will be my one and only beer during the podcast, since it counts as 3
right. I will say I'll have to get you. I'll bring it over this weekend. The other half modest tater tot hot dish collaboration. It's good. It's probably should be better, but it's pretty good.
Okay.
So let's talk about the memorial really quick. I know that there's it actually was a fairly anticlimactic golf tournament. Billy Horschel wins by 4, and he was well ahead most of Sunday, but our companion Kyle, not here, hit 2 first-round leader bets. Unfortunately, this is the second week in a row this happened. Another dead heat reduction. He had a 6-way tie for first, and so I think his 2 40-1 tickets paid out 4-1. So
that's tough.
But he's hitting. He's placing some first-round leader bets, and he's hitting. So that's pretty awesome. I did. On Sunday morning before the event got going, I did check in with Kyle on Horschel's odds at 131 for the U.S. Open. Someone who I figured was a grinder in the U.S. Open usually can fare well. And I thought that was a good number. He has been playing pretty well, but then he suddenly comes out of nowhere and he shoots this excellent round on it was Saturday morning actually, and his odds dropped all the way down to 40-1. So he's it seems kind of random, Billy Horschel, but he's actually been in the mix all year. He just hasn't sort of closed the deal. Yeah. So but it kind of made it for a snooze fest on Sunday. Like I was trying to watch some of the women's US Open, and Minjee Lee had like a 5-shot lead for most of the weekend. So it was just kind of like I flipping back and forth. There was really nothing. There's no action in either event.
I was going to ask you, was she one of your picks last week?
She wasn't. No, none of my picks. I mean, actually, my lineup was I actually built a lineup based on the recommendations I sent out, and then I didn't submit it into a contest. And it would have been pretty good because Amy Olsen was $6,900 and she made the cut. But no, Minjee was not one of my picks, but she certainly played very well. The guys that didn't play well on Sunday were the Cameron Smith and Cameron Young. Yeah. I think those that hurt me.
Did Cameron Young accidentally get a left-handed set for Sunday?
85.
What? I looked it up and I was like, "What? How?" He single-handedly took me out of first place in one of my contests. I was like,
yeah,
you can't shoot 84, 85 on Sunday. Oh,
yeah. I don't know. I still think he's I still think he's in a good spot for the U.S. Open. You just kind of hopefully that was just a one-time thing. But yeah. So on the listener league side, Spicy won. I think he finished in last week at the Colonial. Comes back all the way to first place this week. Rock Chalk MN in second, and then I thought we were done with JY Sodi. I thought we were done. We got a week off of JY Sodi, and then he comes back and finishes in third place. So, were you in the mix, Jordan? I didn't pay too close of attention to.
No, I think I had only 4 guys make the cut, or maybe even 3. So like this, everyone had high numbers. It was surprising. I had 6 guys make the cut in my tiers, and I was out of the money for a portion of Sunday until I had, some guys finishing late and got me back in. But this was
our RTG contest. I had 6 guys make the cut, and I was several spots out of the money. So there was some really bad play on the weekend. That was the thing. Adam Scott was terrible. Cameron Young was terrible, obviously. So both of those guys. Otherwise, though, I think we did it. I think cash wise, we talked about it with the cash lineups we were all in were all really good. GPP lineups were positive returns. I think I was 1 player off. You convinced me your fellow gopher Eric Van Rooyen was the right play over Brendan Steele. That was wrong.
He was not the right play. Not in the slightest. I had him in RTG also, I think, and that didn't help me at all.
Yeah. Well, so our model was very good. We had 12 of 12 players at 25% mention share make the cut. It's the second time that's happened this season. And so usually when that happens, we usually see very nice returns on our end, which we did. So there were no landmines, unless you want to count EVR, who we gave plenty of airtime to. Our best expert of the week.
Sorry, guys.
No. He wasn't there. He had some love. But Brendan Steele. I was fading the 6K darling at the top of the model, and that was not a good idea. Brendan Gadula from Number Fire, 5 of his 6 plays in the top 13, so he was our top expert of the week. And we had no experts in our model mention Billy Horschel this week, and that happens occasionally. Although we did get someone to add us on Twitter saying, "Oh, I picked him 60-1." And I'm like, good. Like, I know somebody did.
Yeah.
And that's great. That's an outright. Sure, we do DFS, but I just thought that's kind of funny.
Yeah. People like to brag.
I know. We do too. We do too. But
for sure. You gotta do it.
All right. Well, let's take a real quick break, and we'll come back and we'll talk about the RBC Canadian Open. Hey everyone, welcome back. We're going to do our RBC Canadian Open preview. But first, we have the Reading the Green Listener League. It is available on the DraftKings app. Hit us up on Twitter for the link to join. We play DraftKings golf with our listeners every week. Super fun. You can win real money. And look forward to meeting a few more folks this week. All right. The RBC Canadian Open at St. George's Golf and Country Club in Etobicoke, Ontario. I'm not really quite sure how to pronounce that. But it's a tournament.
I'm glad you said where it was. I was like, is this in Alberta? Is this in Edmonton? Like, I had no idea.
It's Ontario. So I think this is interesting. The field actually is pretty good. I'm not sure how much of that is like sponsor related, but it's not that far from Boston. So I imagine there's an element of like being out at Brookline, flying up to play. If I miss the cut, it's an easy trip back down. So I do think the proximity, kind of like we saw with Southern Hills and whatever it was. Now I'm blanking on what was right before Southern Hills, Byron Nelson maybe. The proximity helps probably with the strength of the field. A lot of good players this week. So we'll see what happens. I think that's going to lead to some just interesting storylines on if you want to take some of the studs in the tune-up. It hasn't been. We'll get to that in a second here. But Jordan, why don't you kind of just give us a read on what the model's shaping up like? I think there's some just kind of question marks at the top here.
Yeah, so I'm going to do my best Kyle Lang impression. I don't have an Iowegian accent, though, so I hope you can all understand me. There's not the normal, standout, right? The last couple of weeks, we've had one guy or two guys that have been kind of clearly, all right, you kind of have to play them. Here, our highest mention share is 42%. We have two guys, Corey Connors, CT Pan at 42%. And then there's two more at 36%, which is Rory and Matt Fitzpatrick. And then you're down to 26%, right below that. And there's, 4 or 5 guys. So it's it feels different this week, and maybe as we get more articles in tomorrow, some of the slower guys, it will kind of get a little clearer. But I don't love Corey Connors and CT Pan at the top. I think, is Corey Connors Canadian?
He is Canadian, yes.
Oh, so they're going with the home court advantage here for Corey Connors, but
it's hard with CT Pan. CT Pan just burned us too the couple weeks ago with the late withdrawal. So I don't know. You're right. Like, and then it falls off quickly, and then you got a handful of guys that, all right, a bunch of high salary guys, but then it falls off quickly, and you're like, okay, what do I do now?
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting. There's no, like the first $6,000 guy is down at number like 20 at 15% mention share. Right? There's no cheap plays. Right. Yeah. That's an interesting. There's every week there's kind of been one guy that has been the consensus cheap play. Here, the cheapest plays recommended plays are still, over $7,000.
Yeah. So it is interesting. The field, and I think this is what Kyle did share some of his insights for us to share on the pod. But I do think that, like, outside of a handful of the top studs, like, the field falls off pretty quickly. Here's my take, and I said this a few minutes ago. I don't love the studs this week ahead of the U.S. Open. That's where their head's at. They're here for whatever reason, just to get some reps going in. The only guy that I think is kind of chill enough to accidentally win this golf tournament is Cam Smith. So if I'm going above 10K, he's the only guy that I think is out there that just isn't going to put pressure on himself in a tune-up and might just accidentally go and win. So, but everybody else up there, McIlroy, Fitzpatrick, Scheffler, Thomas, Burns, I think all those guys are very focused on next week, and I wouldn't be surprised if they just play 36 and get out of there. So,
yeah. And is this the first time we've seen Sam Burns in the 5-digit territory?
I was going to say the same thing. That is a lot to pay. That he's a guy that you want to pay high 8s, 9K for. So yes. I don't, 10K is way too expensive, even in a weaker field. Even when you have all these other names.
Yeah. $300 less than Cam Smith. I will take Cam Smith all day.
Yeah. Yeah, the ceiling is higher, even though Burns has certainly had the form. So I think for me, like I said, I like Cam Smith. Kyle made a good point. Are the Canadians? So first of all, I'll ask you this, Jordan. Can you trust Canadians?
Of all the nationalities, I would say Canadians you can probably trust the most. But they're all afraid of the dark. So if there's if they get delayed and they're playing into dusk, they just fall apart. They think the Stranger Things Mind Flayer is going to come get them.
I think that if I got to take one Canadian this week, Corey Connors sitting there right at the top. I think he's probably the safest play, but I'm going to jump down to Adam Svensson as a value play and say he's my Canadian for the week. Maybe someone with a lot to prove, but not as much pressure as Corey Connors or Mackenzie Hughes.
And I mean, that's not fair. He's not really Canadian, right? Like, he's got to be Swedish, or he's got 2 S's.
You're probably right.
Right? Like, he must be a transplant to Canada. But yeah, that's, so picks for the week. The studs are all at the top, right? I mean, we've got, I didn't mention that 25% and below, but like Scotty, Cam, JT, Burns are all right there. So I'm going to go, I've kind of found my sweet spot in recommending the 7,000 to like 8,500 space. So I'm going to do it again this week. And, Aaron Rye right there. He's got 26%
he's your guy.
Share.
He's your
guy. He's my guy. He wears 2 gloves. It's colder in Canada, so it'll keep him warm. I think that'll be beneficial. And like Tony Finau at 9,400. How is Sam Burns more than Tony Finau?
So
Tony Finau has been playing very well. Unless this is where Kyle's the expert and actually looks at like what the course is and how it fits for people. I make judgments on how I think people play golf. And it's like Finau seems like a steal at 9,400 compared to Sam Burns at 10,000.
I think that's a really, really, really good point. He does feel way undervalued there. I do think this is where it's confusing though in our model this week. The mention share drop off just happens so fast, right? Tony's sitting at 15% and he's the 14th player on the board for us. I think usually you'd probably see the 14th player somewhere in like the low 20%. So it's like, he's only being mentioned by a couple of experts. So while any of these guys outside of the top, 9-10 guys on the list, I don't know that you can really trust. And that's what's going to make this week tough. You're just going to have to find take a couple flyers and hope they hit. I think Tony Finau is a great price at 9,400 given the way he's been playing.
Yeah. The other interesting thing that Kyle mentioned in his note to us is all the withdrawals.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know.
You know what it is. It's got to be. In Canada, you still have to be vaccinated to get into the country. The Twins just had this. The Minnesota Twins couldn't take 3 starting pitchers, their starting outfielder. I mean, why else? You've never seen this many withdrawals. I think they signed up, assuming
thought it would change.
The rules would change, this and that, and there's no other reason for this many people to withdraw, other than they're not vaccinated, so they can't get in, right? Like Patrick Reed needs all the money he can get playing on the tour. I'm assuming that I think he withdrew, right? Like, and if of all the PGA Tour players for all of them to not be vaccinated, are we surprised it's Patrick Reed?
I was gonna say the same thing, and Pat Perez and Adam Schenk. Patrick Reed, you are probably right. So,
but like I had that epiphany while we were talking here and I saw your Twins logo on the shirt.
Yeah,
and there was, they went up there and they lost like 2 of the starting pitchers that were supposed to play, and Kepler was out and someone else, and that has to be it, right? We've never seen.
That's a great point. That's a really great point.
Interesting tidbit.
Yeah, it's funny how that was like not even a thing now. That would have been like total drama like a year ago, but now nobody cares. It's like, withdrew. Who cares? Moving on.
Yep.
You want to talk about tiers really quick?
I would love to, because I'm gonna talk about tier 6 because I don't really know any of the people in tier 6. I've heard some of the names. I've heard JJ Spawn.
Well, he won this year.
I think he's a golfer. I think he's a professional golfer. Dean Burmester. No, I know. I've heard Dylan Fratelli, Nick Taylor. I've heard their names. I have no idea who to pick. Right. Smotherman, getting the most mentions with 15%. It's a shot in the dark. I think this is a non-tiers week for me because I don't want to, throw a dart at a board and try and hit on any one of these guys.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. Austin Smotherman has been helping me a lot in some larger GPP tournaments as a 6K flyer a lot of weeks, and so maybe I go there. But I agree, like, it's kind of a mess. I think even in like tier 3, you're gonna have Finau, Hatton, Kirk, Varner, all these guys in the low 9Ks. Like, I don't know. I don't know. This is a tournament where it's just like, just get us to the U.S. Open.
Yes.
Just get us to the U.S.
Open. This won't be a heavy week of batting. I don't think any of the top guys, they want to be here, but like you said, they won't be concentrating on it. They'll be, at night they'll go home and look at pictures of Brookline.
Right. All right. Well, it sounds like Kyle's gonna make up for his absence. He's gonna get some content out there tomorrow. Give everyone his picks and a few other tidbits. So I think stay tuned for that. Jordan, anything else you want to add on the conversation this week? Any of the topics or looking ahead?
No, I will say I'm looking ahead to the next week and the U.S. Open.
You're
It's
a
always
big
fun.
Fran Quinn guy, I think, right? You're a big Fran Quinn
Yep.
fan, I think.
He's the 53-year-old that qualified.
I think, yeah. I mean, it's insane. I mean, the one thing I'll say, and for those that saw on Twitter, we mentioned this story about Joel Damon. I will paraphrase this story about Joel Damon that was in The Athletic. So the Brendan Quinn basically is texting with Joel. Joel is out at a bar the night before his qualifier, past 10 p.m. He's a 7 a.m. tee time in this qualifier. He's out past 10 p.m. texting pictures of the beers he's drinking and saying, I'm not sure I really want to play in the US Open. Like, it's just better for me to focus on the smaller events that I can do better in, get my world ranking up, get my FedEx points up, get my money list, my earnings up. US Open is just me signing up to get my ass kicked for 4 days. And why do I want to do that? And I don't blame Joel. Like, for someone, I've been in that situation too, where I just like, playing hard competitive golf tournaments just sometimes isn't super fun. So Joel goes out and then qualifies the next morning. And you like look at that list of people that made it through, and you're like, the 13 guys that made it through in his qualifier were like, most of them were PGA Tour winners. And so then you think about a guy like Fran Quinn, and I know he's a professional, but like, that's who he's beating in whatever. I didn't look at the leaderboard that he was at, but like, those are the guys he's beating.
It's crazy. I like the qualification process.
Very open.
Right? Like it gives any Fran Quinn a chance. Right?
Well,
He would have never been able to play in any other PGA Tour event this year. Nothing. And yet he can get, probably, 4 or 5 great rounds in a row at these specific qualifier events. Mm-hmm. And he now might get paired with Dustin, nope. Tiger, nope. Phil, one of those other guys he'll get paired with.
Yeah. Get paired with Joel Damon. This is, but this is how a lot of the, we gave up our athletic careers a long time ago. We went into business, all of that. But like playing, for those that are holding on, and golf is an interesting one because of this, like, because, for people with a little bit of game, like, there is a chance that you can show up and do that and play the round of your life a few times. And so I was talking with a peer of mine at my club, and this was the conversation last year about the state open. He said, well, hey, I qualify for the state open. I win the state open. I get to play in the 3M open. I finished top 20 in the 3M Open. I'm like getting sponsors exemptions. I'm like a couple good rounds away from like a full PGA Tour season. And I was like, what? But that's like, I guess that's how, the aspiring golfers think. And I don't know. That's just, I guess you gotta have the optimism. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I shot a 45 on Friday morning, and I shot a 35 tonight. Right?
So you're gonna shoot a 25 next week?
Now I'm gonna shoot a 45 again. Right?
That's the real trend, yeah.
But like, that's golf, right? Like, this guy, he got hot, and he plays more than me, so he can get hot for more than 9 holes at a time.
Yeah. Well, good luck, Fran Quinn. I'm sure we'll talk more about that next week in our US Open preview. But for that, we'll just we'll wrap up for the evening. You can find our content on our YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter at Reading the Green or RTG Podcast DFS and any of the major podcast platforms. Check out our Twitter page on Wednesday for a link to join our listener league on DraftKings. We'll be back in a week to recap the Canadian Open and preview the US Open. See ya.